Hi, I'm Dr. Arthur Wilson, PhD, the host of All Things Change, a podcast about change and transformation. This podcast explores business transformation successes and failures. I focus on four themes: leadership and management, culture, processes, and technology. This episode is my first video version of my podcast. Today, the focus is on the success of the Australian Retirement Program, often referred to as the Superannuation Program. I am looking at the retirement program through the lens of leadership and management, culture change, process, and technology. Life. We only have one shot at it, just one. A common fact for all of us is that we are born and at some stage we will die. In between life and death are billions of decisions. During your life, you'll make a few right decisions and, of course, a few wrong decisions. Like it or not, government actions can influence some of our decisions as well. This includes decisions related to retirement. Retirement is actually a very interesting and complex concept. Your formal and informal education, your drive and determination, your job, your employer, and government influence retirement. The choices you make to lead and manage your life also have a significant influence on if and when and how you will retire. Considering retirement is perhaps one of the most critical matters an individual or a couple can make about their future. Let me focus briefly on government and retirement. Leaders in government recognize the desire of their citizens to one day retire, to be able to reach the point in their life to have the finances, the time, and the health to do things on their own terms. Good leaders know that retirement is complex from both the personal perspective, but also from a national perspective. And to drive good retirement requires clear leadership and good management. It requires activities to influence the culture across the nation as well as within homes. It requires processes that are needed to support the retirement activities. And finally, technology to help individuals, business, and government manage their retirement plans and funds. Before I work through the four themes of leadership and management, culture and culture change, processes and technology, and how I believe they make Australia's retirement program successful when compared to other countries, here's a bit of background on the history of retirement. Throughout history, people with sufficient funds have been able to choose when to stop working and transition into a life where other interests filled their time. However, until recently, most people throughout all recorded time worked for as long as they were physically and mentally able to work. As people got older, the work grew increasingly irregular. These older workers were often demoted to lower skilled and lower paid work as their abilities declined with age. Eventually, pensions were established that generally prioritized the needs of the organization over those of the worker. Sometimes pensions were introduced in order to attract high quality labor and used as a convenient management tool for removing older or disabled workers who became unfit for work. Pensions were sometimes linked to a set retirement age to allow leaders and managers to avoid telling an employee they were past their prime and they were no longer needed. One leader that fostered government action concerning retirement was the German Chancellor Bismarck. In 1884, Bismarck stated, "Those who are disabled from work by age and invalidity have a well-grounded claim to care from the state." Within Australia, in 1908, Australian law outlined criteria for the pension that included consideration of a person's character, their race, and age. Basically, this excluded people who were not British subjects, such as immigrants from Asia and Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. These character and race provisions were progressively removed over the next 60 years. By 1960, more people were living longer and were able to dream about saving money the day they could stop work, getting a decent pension, and retiring. Large number of Australians started to retire and embrace leisure activities. This became the expectation. A culture was created in Australia in which people believed and expected to be able to retire. However, the window to be able to retire started to close. The ability to retire became financially difficult for a growing number of Australians. To change this decline took national leadership and management. Some retirement income provisions provided significant benefit to the upper end of society. The great majority of working Australians had no viable access to pension related tax reductions. To change this took foresight and leadership. The leaders direct actions to managers of government departments and agencies and also influence how people undertake retirement planning and saving. In comes Paul Keating. Paul Keating was a leader, an Australian treasurer and then prime minister that possessed great economic instincts and an intuitive grasp of economic policy. He understood that a strong social safety net could only be sustained on the back of a strong economy. These instincts helped bring to Australia a tidal wave of economic modernization. In 1983, as treasurer, Keating also had to influence the culture of the right and the left of his own Labour Party to get behind his ambitious pro market economic agenda. This was no small task. Paul Keating was once described as the world's greatest treasurer. The pension plan he developed for Australia is sometimes considered a model for the world. Regarding culture, culture affects everything associated with retirement. Culture for retirement refers to the self sustaining patterns of behaving, feeling, thinking, believing that one day you can retire if you do things to save and you critically consider your future. There is no denying that retirement can be very complex. It deals with human, financial, and social issues that interact with one another. So, messages about retirement and how the message is communicated is very important. Communication, marketing, education, training, and awareness all influence culture, and is something that really needs to be well considered by country leaders. In Australia, Paul Keating led his Labour government to change the retirement system in a significant way. Through activities to influence culture, people started to believe the threat to retirement was real and that the Labour government had solutions that would increase opportunities for those that wanted to retire. Australia began to dream of retiring, and they recognized that voluntary contributions could have significant impact on how and when they could retire. As part of the culture change that supported retirement, the importance of saving for retirement and making sure that people knew that a comfortable life in retirement is attainable was promoted. This included creating a national culture where individuals were more accountable and responsible for growing their retirement savings. Creating a culture for retirement is a challenge. Paul Keating faced this challenge and fostered a change in culture that's seen a steady and sustained increase in retirement savings. Technology. The world is changing fast, driven by rapid technological advances. No industry is immune from the disruption of modern technology. However, the multi-trillion-dollar retirement industry in Australia looks much the same as it did in the 1990s. It has simply increased in size. Through technology, organizations that manage retirement funds can better understand more about their customers and then tailor services to individual customer needs. In summary, this podcast attempted to show how the leadership of Paul Keating contributed to the successful transformation of Australia's retirement program. His leadership provided individuals the power to add to their retirement savings through voluntary contributions that supplemented mandatory employer contributions. Without this leadership, the wealth created from the retirement scheme may not have occurred. From a cultural perspective, the nation was encouraged to save for retirement, with individuals more accountable for their level of savings through decisions they made through the years. The culture change campaigns to increase understanding and the need to plan for retirement were vital for the success of the current retirement program. Although the processes and technologies are in place to support the retirement programs, they do need to continually improve. However, they do currently work. Collectively, leadership and management, culture change activities, evolving processes, and the leveraging of technology has resulted in more Australians living comfortably in retirement. Retirement in Australia can be pretty impressive. We have a good quality of life that includes a clean environment, relatively safe communities with low violence, and we have access to world class affordable health care. This has been a presentation about how leadership and management, culture change activities, processes, and technology interact to influence the success or failure of change and transformation initiatives. I am Dr. Arthur Wilson. Thank you for your time.